nobody over there should take anything we say like so personally as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process. We're not attacking people here. And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in DC and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames and or paints Washington, D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady yield?
No, I don't yield. I don't even have time. I can tell you.
Your time's expired.
It is expired, but
Tlaib,
Mr. Chair,
nice.
but you all live
like
here,
Mr.
and
Tlaib.
you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's
Tlaib.
capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the gentlelady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues.
Mr. Donald,
We were from the Third Reich. This is
You're going to
insane.
look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
It's insane.
Oh.
Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib?
Please,
Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it
It's
goes.
okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold myself accountable.
Mr. Tlaib.
Hold your own self accountable. How about that? Hold your own
I'm
self
trying,
accountable.
Mr.
How about that?
Free DC and make sure you vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody
Mr.
else.
Tlaib, all right, time. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado. Order. Wait a minute, Ms. Boebert. All right. Order. Ms. Boebert.
You know, I think it's really important. I mean, we're talking about, 700,000 people that live here, and I feel like their voice gets completely just dismissed. And so, if I may, Mr. Chair, ask unanimous consent to enter the record. The Washington Post poll of D.C. residents found 8 out of 8 in 10 opposed Trump's taking over of their local police and sending in federal troops.
Without objection to ordered.
I think it's also really important to understand, like, the incredible kind of slanderous, like, defamation. I don't know what to call it. They're just burying Washington, D.C. You just heard them speak about our nation's capital in that way, in a way that I feel very much like that's not what I see. I see people walking around with their families, people enjoying time to see these beautiful, incredible, beautiful monuments and everything. And there's a pride here too. And so I just want to bring the DC residents into this committee because I feel like they are being made invisible. And this really ugly picture that is not reflective. And I'm from Detroit. I've seen it happen to my city, and it's despicable in a way that I feel like really goes up against our values. One of the things that I know in every abuse of power that we let President Trump and the administration get away with in D.C., it will be replicated. It will be expanded across the country, and it is going to tear apart our communities. Mr. Jackson, I talked to you about a little bit about this, but I think it's important to understand that we do have a mental health crisis, that we have a housing crisis, affordability crisis. Can you police any of those away?
No.
You can't police away homelessness. And the way they talk about our homeless neighbors is so, no wonder there's violence increasing towards homeless neighbors. I see it already, the brutality of it. When we see housing costs go up, when we see, again, the lack or dismissiveness of the mental health crisis that we continue to grow. And it's not just this administration, and the previous administrations as well. No one has moved with the urgency that is needed. Just last week, the committee approved over a dozen bills regarding Washington, D.C. And, I'm just curious. Criminalized children. My colleague from Boston talked about this. It basically interfered with legislation already passed by the local government. Was anyone on this panel consulted? Any of you? Raise your hand if you were consulted on any of these bills. Yeah.
We were not.
One of the things that, AG, I've been listening to you. One of the bills actually eliminates your position completely. what effect would that have? I mean, completely eliminating your position in regards to be able to do the job that you do to protecting all the families in Washington, D.C.?
We'll start with the fact that more than 70% of the residents of the District of Columbia overwhelmingly voted for having an independent elected attorney general.
That's right.
And that's a recognition of the fact that when an attorney general is directly accountable to the people, directly responsive to the people, we are much better at doing our job in terms of addressing housing affordability and conditions in slumlords, seniors and consumers who are being scammed, addressing the issues that are most important to D.C. residents, because I am accountable to them.
I read wage theft is an issue, workplace discrimination. I mean, there's a number of issues that need to be addressed, and they're not going to address that. They want to paint you all as this ugly, dark, all just out in the street. I mean, the way, it's just unbelievable because they all live here. I don't see it. I don't see what they see. I don't understand why we're allowing that to happen, because I actually think it's going to hurt our communities. People are going to look at Washington, D.C. folks in a way that I think is going to be very painful, but also, you know, I don't know, Mr. Jackson, I heard the stories. People didn't leave their homes. They weren't leaving their homes. Businesses didn't see people coming into, I mean, that's what we want in our nation's capital. Stay in your house, don't move, don't go anywhere, stay fearful. It's unbelievable that my colleagues continue again to eject this narrative and this rhetoric in regards to it. But I think it's important, Mr. Chair, just like in DC, home rule was one out of Black freedom struggle in the fight for civil rights. We can't be passive right now. So nobody over there should take anything we say like so personally as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process. We're not attacking people here. And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in DC and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames and or paints Washington, D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady yield?
No, I don't yield. I don't even have time.
Every single time the Republicans call one of these overseer hearings on the district, we get the same paternalistic, infantilizing, just racially coded drivel. We are hearing the same old fear-mongering, the same misdirection and misinformation today, off-topic claims, including getting rid of DEI in D.C. And it's crazy to say because you can introduce DEI laws, but at the end of the day, you are not going to erase Black people from the District of Columbia or any other place. And I just wanted to start with that. And let's be real, that's what's at the heart of all of these same conversations that we keep having about crime and underfunded and under-resourced Black communities while they ignore crime in the White House and in their own houses. So I just wanted to establish that as we go through this. But Washington, D.C., we know is in a unique situation, you are especially vulnerable to Trump's power-hungry overreach. Their elected officials don't have the same resources and also don't get the same respect, incidentally, from members of this panel that they would give to their own elected officials. But you don't have the same protections, congressional voting power or representation as other states. That's why Trump is using D.C. as a test kitchen for all of the horrible policies that they're cooking up. As members of Congress representing those other states and cities, we need to be concerned about where he's going to target next, and we cannot roll over, shrug our shoulders, and say that at least the National Guardsmen are gardening or picking up trash. We have to push back on this right now, in this moment, before he comes for all of our districts. To be clear, none of Trump's actions have made D.C. any safer. And just as a reminder, crime had already been dropping in the district without his involvement. He's been terrorizing D.C. residents with these mass and unaccountable federal agents. an armed National Guardsman. He's completely broken any small amount of trust these communities have with local law enforcement. Many of the National Guard troops are from out of state. They don't know D.C. any more than you all do, and they don't know the communities. D.C. residents deserve to govern themselves and have elected officials that are accountable to them, who uniquely understand D.C.'s needs and their concerns, but instead, Republicans want to micromanage people who didn't vote for them and do not support their policies. Chairman Mendelson, we marked up 14 bills on D.C. last week, 13 of which you opposed. Was the D.C. Council consulted on any of those 13 bills?
We were not.
Have you taken any of the members on this committee on a full tour of a D.C. neighborhoods?
I have tried to meet with different members without success.
Yeah, because we all know they talk a lot about DC and they pretend to know DC, but the reality is that very few of them have ever left any of the communities that are in walking distance of the Capitol itself. And I bet they've probably never even been. I remember last term we had a member talk about, well, the unique part of DC is that you all get access to every member of Congress, but I've never seen a member of Congress in any of the carryouts in DC. I ain't seen them at any of the Ethiopian restaurants or at a Caribbean joint, but that's neither here nor there. Do you think it's necessary to work with local officials to improve public safety?
Absolutely.
Has the Trump administration reached out to the council to ask you all what you need to help keep D.C. safe?
They have not.
Crime is especially easy to exploit and use as a political tool. Everyone, regardless of how they vote, cares about safety. We care about community safety. That's why I launched the Community Safety Agenda and Caucus, because we have community-based, evidence-backed solutions that we know work. But instead of offering real solutions to prevent crime, to respond to people in crisis and stop violence, which D.C. and many other cities have invested in, Trump's scare tactics and political theater only makes these communities safe. These proactive investments in communities that actually bring down crime. The data could not be any clearer. It's the programs that work to stop crime before it can happen rather than just responding afterwards. Yet DC is struggling to fund these types of programs because y'all have not restored and passed the $1 billion that Congress owes them. Attorney General Schwab, you've made stable housing for DC a priority, correct?
I have.
You've implemented programs that improve nuisance properties, after-school programs for kids, victims of domestic violence, and the goal to make DC safer, correct?
I have.
Mayor Bowser, we know that these litany of proactive investments actually drive down crime. Has Trump promised you any funding for any of these things?
No, not yet.
Great. The cost of having a National Guard is about $1.8 billion a day. We're up to about $40 billion. They say about $200 billion. A bunch of that of these out-of-state guards in the Rome Ministry is not a sustainable solution. That is not more sustainable than actually investing in these things, investing in our communities. We know that if you really want lifelong safe communities, then we need to invest the same way that these people invest in their people, and their communities, and their loved ones. Invest in these folks the same way and stop talking about crime and fear-mongering these people. With that, I yield back.